All right. Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. It's been a while since I've been on, and I'm glad to be back on. By the way, first and foremost, um, this just right out the gate, this has been very. I've been very unsure as far as what's going to happen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the coaching and just everything in general that's been going on, all the changes that have been going on um, with the NFL, and crazily enough, they it looks like they're just releasing the schedule. So um, let me see if I can find the schedule for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It looks like they just released it a few minutes ago. So um, eventually, I'll touch on that here in just a moment. But yeah, I'm glad to be back on, guys. It's been a minute, and kind of getting back to what I was talking about earlier. It's just like the season has been kind of frustrating. The off season has been frustrating. I still have not gotten over uh, a double digit five or a two years in a row under 500 win loss, and it's just frustrating. So right now, I'm just kind of waiting to see what the new coach does, what he does with the talent that he has. We haven't seen a whole lot of moves, but I can tell you this: I'm super excited for the season to be starting, and I I've been missing football with the debacle that is the AAF, which I really had a lot of hope, that league would take off. Just unfortunately, it has not come to fruition. So one of those things that I guess it's cool. I'm kind of getting settled in. We're getting closer to the draft, and this is about the time that I'm going to really start to pay more attention about what's going on with the draft, who the Buccaneers are really going to look at. I've been hearing a lot of the same names over and over, so just kind of getting into it a little bit deeper to see who Tampa's going to get, and this is where it starts to get exciting right here for me, because we've gotten past the boring period, that being the free agency period, and going into the draft. And with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not having a whole lot of cap room, that kind of adds to the it kind of takes away from free agency as well. But guys, I'm glad I have four people out here checking us out. Welcome, thank you for checking it out. I'm going to get the chat up in just a moment. I want to get the schedule, see if I can find the schedule. I'm going out on Twitter, trusty Twitter, to see if I can find the schedule and just kind of talk a little bit about that. I will be looking at the schedule just like you guys will. So it should be pretty interesting to see what's going on. So bear with me here as I'm pulling this up. And my girl EMT Ashley has a schedule up. And let's see what we've got here. So you got August. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right schedule. Oh, okay. So let's see if we can break down the schedule here. Um hmm. August 9th, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hold on, let me take a look here. All right. Yeah. Um, Again, everybody, welcome. So, okay, so we've got August 9th, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers for preseason. August 16th, you've got the Miami Dolphins, Cleveland Browns, August 23rd, and the Dallas Cowboys, August 29th. So that's a great way to me to start the season, going into the regular season, where you've got the San Francisco 49ers as the first game up. I'm really, that's one of the games that I'm looking forward to. Just kind of see what GM John Lynch is going to do, and just kind of see how, out of the gate, how does Tampa measure up against a team that's up and coming. They're putting some pieces in place to to be competitive in their division. So it'll be really interesting to see just how they do. You know what? And I do apologize. Let me grab this. Okay, here we go. Lane Johnson, what's going on, man? Hey, Kenneth Sarvis, what's going on? Michael Kitchell. You know, guys, they just, I just got to look at the schedule here just now, and I was kind of going over it a little bit. A couple of games that stick out to me. I'm looking forward to. Number one, the 49ers. I would say the Rams always have the Bucks number, so that's going to be a game that I'm definitely looking forward to. The Carolina Panthers, as usual, the Bucks, play them pretty tough. That's going to be a good series to watch this season. To see, it'll be kind of a good that game, and the Saints is going to be a good benchmark to show where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the grand scheme of things, because those are two teams that always play well. And as the Saints aren't the best starters out of the gate, so getting to face them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games into the season will really give you a good indicator as to where they are and where the Bucks are, as we push to go to the playoffs for the first time in over a decade. So this is one of those things, and you'll hear me say this a lot this year, is my expectations are the Bucks go to the playoffs. Anything less than the playoffs is a disappointment and a letdown, which, again, they have to rebound from these last 2 really disappointing seasons. But I think this is going to be a season that there's not a next year. There really isn't. I mean, they've just got to do well. So, as I was mentioning before, the New Orleans Saints is going to be a good game. But I think the game of the season for me will be October 27th. That will be the Tennessee Titans versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game right there will be very defining, as far as, this will be the first time that the Bucks have faced the Titans, I believe, since Mariota and Winston's rookie year. So going to be exciting. Matthew Kitchell, there you go. Thursday night in Atlanta, at Atlanta. That should be a really good game as well. Again, I believe that this team has always had the talent. I just think that, there have been just like a lot of mental errors. I've taken a lot of time this year, especially, to go back and look at game film from previous games. And the one thing that's really stuck out to me, just like a sore thumb, was all the missed tackles and all the times that you see people playing out of position. And, I don't want to attribute there's enough blame for everything to go around. But one thing that I've noticed about Tampa is the missed tackles, the missed opportunities to stop plays for negative yards that ended up being positive yards. And one guy that I did pay attention to, and this is no slight to him because, he's not here anymore, but Quan Alexander missed quite a few tackles that I've seen. And, just watching, he makes splash plays, he makes big plays, but as for 4 quarters of football, I don't know. I just kind of have to, yeah, exactly. Fundamentals suck, period. You're exactly right. And there are plays that should have been made that weren't made, that could have been difference makers, that could have changed the momentum in the game. But again, these things just didn't happen. So I'm going to go back to what I originally said. I believe this team has the talent, regardless of, I know the talk has been about Gerald McCoy and this, that, and the other. Whether he's here or not, I believe this team does have the talent to win games that they're supposed to win and win games that they're not supposed to win. So definitely something to look forward to is this season. There's a lot of fun games on here. I think the Giants, the Colts, the Colts game December 8th is going to be a really good game. Real good test for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see. This will give you an opportunity to really see where you are. I think the December 1st game, Quan was a liability in coverage. Absolutely. And I think it's going to show. I really believe that it will show. One thing to watch, and I will be watching Quan this year, he's one of those players, like every time that the Bucks lose a player or a player goes somewhere else, I do tend to watch those players and just see what they do on another team. And the one thing I will be watching from Quan Alexander, does he make those tackles on a constant basis? Does he play out of position? Does he play with more emotion than keeping his head in the game and making those plays? You know what we like I mentioned, 4 quarters of football. That's kind of what I want to see. And I know before the injury, I was very frustrated with some of the plays that were made. And yeah, like I mentioned, there's a lot of blame to go around, but when you're out on the field and you have this is your job to do, and you're not doing your job, and the offense is putting up huge numbers, and you can't stop anything, that's a problem. There's an imbalance there. So hopefully, with the new head coach here, Bruce Arians, they can get that cleaned up. And those are little things that I'm looking forward to, because again, it's about the playoffs. I really, I'm not as concerned with who the Bucs get. I'm more concerned with how they play with the players that they do get. You know what I'm saying? And Real Talk Perez, what's going on, man? Yeah, again, I don't know what this defense is going to look like. I'm unsure. Anything's going to be an improvement just based on what we've seen so far. Anything's going to be an improvement over the way things were last year. And Real Talk Perez, I remember you mentioned something about 2 years ago, last year and a year before, and you mentioned that it wasn't so much the coaching, it was more or less how these players were playing in their positions. And we saw a lot of times where players were missing plays. I mean, coaches can't go out there and coach these guys, can't go out there and play for these guys. They have to, this is your assignment, this is what you need to do, and this is what you have to do. We did see a little bit better response once they got the new defensive coordinator in there. Things got better, but it should have been a lot better. The fundamentals, again, as was mentioned, fundamentals should have been better. Yeah, it's crazy. The Panthers are going to be playing. They're playing the Panthers in London on October 13th, I believe. Yep, October 13th. I was going to go to that game, but I will actually be in Europe for 3 weeks in December, so I'm not even going to be able to catch that game. So because I'll be in Europe about a month or so later. So that's and Kenneth Service, you are right, man. This is the mindset that Bucs Nation needs to be in. It's about the playoffs. It's not about 8 wins. It's not about 9 wins. It's about the playoffs. It's about winning games in the playoffs. And that's where we have to be. I've heard some positive things. I read something, I think it was from Jenna Lane, where she was talking about, let's see, the scheme wasn't as bad as the problem as not having coaches being able to teach their scheme better. That you again, but it comes down to fundamentals, man. I mean, real talk, you watched the film, you've seen it. There have been plays where you've got a player dead to rights 5 yards behind the line. You've got to stop here, and it ends up turning into a 10-yard gain. We saw that more times than not last year, and that's something that, going back and watching, I've had a lot of time to watch some of these games over again, especially the losses. And that was one of the huge things that I saw, was not being able to have that containment, not being able to set the edge, there's just a lot of things that didn't happen that should have happened. And again, some coaches are teachers, other coaches are not. And I think what you have this year are a bunch of teachers. So I'm hoping they can get it across. This is what we expect from you. This is what we want from you in order to make this defense better. So I'm just going to sit back and watch it. And again, there you go. Fundamental teaching. It's all about the playoffs, man. That's what I'm looking at. So I heard from some of you guys. What other games? What other games are you interested in? I see that we've got the Seattle Seahawks as well. That's going to be a good game. Russell Wilson with his the highest paid quarterback in the league now, or the highest paid player, I believe, in the league, with that new contract extension he just signed, will be facing Seattle November 3rd. So that's going to be a good game right there. That's a series that has gone both ways. So I'm really excited to watch that game as well. Another game, this schedule, I love this schedule. Yeah, there you go. He was hit and miss at best. And again, you just didn't get a consistent 4 quarters of football out of him. So again, like I said, I'm just kind of sitting back and watching this. I really I haven't formed much of an opinion, but I just want to see how they use the players that they get. I think that's a little to me that's a little bit more important because if you got your team playing as a unit, whether it's offense and defense, special teams, everybody's playing together as a unit. There's not any team in the NFL the Bucs can't beat. And I'm serious. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you got a team that plays as a team, they those 9 times out of 10 that team can be stopped. And that's what I want to see from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what? The Rams game will tell a lot. And another game, as I mentioned before, in that game on September 29th, the next game after that, you're looking at the New Orleans Saints. And that's another game that I've got circled because I'm really curious to see how do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bounce back from that, whether it's a win or lose game. How do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bounce back from facing the LA Rams? And then you have to turn around and face the New Orleans Saints. That should be really interesting to see how that goes. The London game, because the last time we played out of the country was having a 10-win team with Raheem, went all downhill from there. Hopefully this will reverse the curse. Let's hope so, man. And these Thursday night games, I hate Thursday night football personally. I think it's overkill. And I think it takes away from games that are special like Monday Night Football. But again, it is what it is. And you just have to go out there and see what they do. I'm glad we get the Saints early, though. They don't play well early. That's what I was saying earlier. Amazing 717, what's up? They're slow out the gates, but they pick it up towards the back end of the season. And one thing that I'm going to be watching, and guys, check this out. From September 29th, October 6th, October 13th, October 27th, November 3rd, and November 10th. These are all games where the Bucs start to drag a little bit. These are games that the Bucs can't consistently go out and win chunks of games. This is the time right here. This is the time that, if you're watching this team, you're going to see what this team is made of right here. And again, I mentioned from the 29th, I would say till November 3rd or possibly even November 10th. This is where you're going to see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are made of in this 2019 season. How do they play? Because you got the Rams, which they will be tough. That defense is tough. So you're facing the Rams, then you have to turn around and you have to face a division rival in the New Orleans Saints. So, and Byron Moore, what's going on? I'm right there with you, man. That's going to be a great game. I would love to actually go to Seattle, go to the game in Seattle. I think that would be kind of fun. Exactly. That's a lot of miles to travel. So, again, these are winnable games. And I'm looking at this schedule, and I promise you, and I'm not a homer. I'm being dead serious when I say this. When you look at the team as it is right now, we haven't even gotten to the draft yet. I think this team can go up against any of the other teams we faced. If they go out and play consistent and you get 4 quarters of football, I think out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I can see the Bucs winning any of these games. I don't see a game where they're just going to get blown out and they're outclassed. I believe that these are games that they could go out there and actually win these games. So it's going to be exciting, man. There you go. Amazing 717. I know we can too. Yeah. And I think the mindset just needs to change. I mean, and I've talked about this before, and you look at the coaches that the Bucs have had going back to John Gruden, after John Gruden. I think we're in a good position. I think the one thing that, Amazement 717 stole my thunder. That's what I was going to talk about. How many games did we watch? And you watch them as well as I do, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were totally outcoached. Totally outcoached. I mean, people in the stands knew what play was coming up next. You saw just some crazy stuff. And this is what I'm looking for right here. I'm looking for Jameis Winston. There you go, looking for Jameis. That's another part of it right there. I have high expectations for Jameis Winston. I'm not tripping about any of the other stuff he's done in the past. That's behind us. This is a 2019 season. Let's see what he can do. I'm behind my quarterback until he's not my quarterback. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. You won't hear me say anything negative about him. And he's the quarterback. This is the guy that's going to lead you to the playoffs, or he's not. So here's a guy that's, he continuously dedicates himself. And I know it doesn't look like it, but he continues to improve every year. You just really, because of the wins and loss column, you really don't see it. But he has continually gotten better as the years have progressed. And I think that it's one of those things that I think if he's put in the right position, I think he can be a successful quarterback. I really believe that. I know a lot of people have moved on from Jameis Winston. I think this is an opportunity for him to really show what he's capable of doing this year. And you still got you've got Mike Evans, you've got Chris Godwin, you've got OJ Howard, again, a lot of players that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are really going to need to lean on this year. I like where the offensive line is going. There could be a couple more pieces that you could put in on the offensive line to get them a little bit more consistent. But I believe that this team is really, especially offensively. I mean, other than losing Deshaun Jackson, which outside of the last two games, he was kind of, whether it's the consistency, the continuity, he was kind of a non-factor for the most part. I miss him. I miss what he can do, taking the top off of a defense. This is a chance for Chris Godwin to step up. He's young. He just has to go out there and show how he's consistent. And, your offense is good. So, again, one of those things that we'll see how this all plays out. I know that a lot of people are missing Adam Humphries. But, again, I think that there is some talent on this team that hasn't gotten a chance to play. We'll see how they do. And there we go. Bruce Arians gets to face the Steelers, the Colts, and the Cardinals all in one season. Do you think the NFL has something to do with planning these homecomings? I kind of wonder. But, just kind of going back to it, the Cardinals game should be very interesting. The Cardinals have owned the Bucs the last 3 games. 3 games. Let's see, 3-4 games. So it's going to be up to them to get out there and let's do this thing. Mike Evans, it's crazy. I want to see Justin Watson. There's another Byron Moore. You guys are on it. There are a lot of players, again, that I believe are talented. I believe that if they're utilized in the correct way, they can make up for a lot of the players that we lost. And I think you may get more consistency, which is what you want out of this team. So, there you go. Draft the D-Jack's replacement. Yeah, again, once we get there, get to the draft and see what they're going to do. I know defense will be very important in this draft, but I think you can be balanced. There's a lot of moves to be made. We saw what Jason Light did last year. And again, Jason Light's on the hot seat. You got to go out there and prove that you deserve to be the GM here, and let's see what happens. So it's one of those, here we go. It's, again, one of those things he's got to show what he can do. Yeah, it's really interesting how they have the schedule broken out. And over the past couple of years, you saw, let's see, what do you think about the linebacker at pick 5 versus grabbing a defensive lineman? In my opinion, is D-line. Yeah, Lane Johnson, I'm glad you brought that up. If you guys have been watching, if you guys watched the playoffs, and I talked about this before, you watched the playoffs, you saw how important both sides of the trenches were for almost every team that went out there and won big. Both sides of the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line, were equally as important. And there's no way around that. And I've been griping about this for a couple of years now, because to me, I've always felt like the defensive line, especially Cali Buck, what's going on? Both sides of the line, especially the defensive line, have not gotten the love over the past decade that they really needed to consistently to keep that line up to par and keep that line consistent where the line is not a liability. But eventually we got to a point where all these things happened, where there was injuries, players that just weren't playing up to where they were supposed to. and that came back and bit the Bucks a few times. Now, what they're doing now is paying attention to that defensive line. Um, I'm looking at you look at teams like the Ravens. The Ravens always draft a defensive lineman at some point in the draft. That is a necessity to draft somebody for that defensive line. And they continuously keep that line fresh, and they continuously keep pressure on the quarterback year after year. Even in the down years, they still are able to get pressure on the quarterback. So again, it's both sides of the line. Let's see what happens. And Devin White at number 5. I don't know. I'm not real sure about that move right there. I keep hearing, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. P Cody, what's going on? I'm not real sure about that move. I've seen it a lot, and I don't know. I'm thinking if there's a Williams that's available, that's if you're going to pick at that spot. Now, I keep hearing people talk about the Bucks moving back, trading back, kind of like they did last year, where they were able to grab a few more picks. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But again, these are players that have to come out and contribute. And Byron Moore, I see what you're saying. And Byron, be sure to check out the podcast next week because I really want to talk about some of the free agents that the Bucks have brought in. I think what you want, and sacks are sexy, but what you really want are consistent players that play with their head, and they're just fundamentally sound from the neck up, as far as making plays, as far as playing in their assignments and that kind of thing. I do believe just watching Quan in game film before he got injured. I just saw him take a lot of chances. I saw him play out of position a lot. I saw him miss a lot of tackles. Last year, and you'll notice he picked it up at the end of each year, but at the beginning of the seasons, it seems like he's inconsistent making tackles. He makes splash plays, but he's just inconsistent. And, you just kind of wonder, is this team, I don't know, if the guys that they've brought in now seem to be a lot more consistent with tackles. Statistically, we've got some players to let's see what they do, as far as how does the defensive coordinator use them. So that's something to really watch for. The Oakland Raiders are this year's Cleveland Browns of the past couple of years, where they've got all these picks. And they can totally ruin somebody's draft board by trading up or picking players, or just, they can pretty much be wherever on the board they want to. We're going to see if John Gruden has improved as a talent evaluator from what we saw when he was here. So we'll just kind of have to see what he does. But again, we've got some solid, fundamentally sound players in free agency, and that's something that gets quietly missed. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by some of these guys once we get into camp and preseason. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But again, like we were talking about earlier, and you guys said it, and I totally agree with you. There are times where we saw where Quan just couldn't cover. He just was bad in coverage. So I don't know. Again, just getting somebody that's fundamentally sound. Let's see what we can do. I would love to see if Jason Light can get quality players with the draft picks that he could pick up moving back. I say I'm all for him going back there and going ahead and trading back and getting his guy that's on his draft board, and then turning around and turning that into a couple more picks, which I can definitely see that moving forward. Yeah, Gruden. I totally agree with you. I see Gruden somehow finding a way to mess this up. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens. Gruden's going to try to find a quarterback. I know it's just like, I know that this I sound cynical, but Gruden and quarterbacks, they just don't work. But I'm sure he's trying to get rid of that myth about him that he can do that. So we'll see what happens. Lane Johnson is better than Quan. Yeah, ain't no linebacker out there worth picking number 5, and Devin White, Ray Lewis. Yeah, again, I kind of go back to what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast. I want to see what this team does with the players they have. That's what's going to be most important to us right now. It's not who you get, it's how you use him, and can that player play in the position that you've got him assigned to. That's going to be where it's going to be important at to me. And again, it's all about the playoffs. Joe McCoy, interesting. I've heard stories that he was going. I've heard he's staying. I've heard he's going. With cap room the way it is, I just don't see Gerald McCoy being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer by kickoff at game 1. By the time they face the 49ers, I just don't see it. I think a big thing for me is the age and his level of productivity. And, again, I think that what's going to happen with Joe McCoy, he's going to go to another team. He's going to have newfound energy for a couple of seasons, and he's going to ball out. But I just think that, for what he's being paid, just from a business aspect, I just don't see it as a reasonable move to make. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see how that goes and see how that all works out. I'm Amazement. I'm kind of with you. I haven't heard positive things about Kendall Beckwith, and it's really sad because this guy had the potential to be a monster just based on what we got to see from him. And it's really a shame that his young career gets cut short like this, and he really doesn't get to show what he can do. So, I would be so pleasantly surprised if this is a guy that can make a comeback and be a factor on a defense. But I just, just everything that I've heard about his injury, he just has not recovered like he should have. So it's going to be one of those things. Another game that I haven't really got to talk too much about is going to be December 22nd or 21st or 22nd. The Texans, the Houston Texans. This is a team that's up and coming. I just I'm looking to see how Tampa faces a mobile quarterback and how they do against that wide receiver core and that defense. So definitely a game that I will be watching for as well. So go ahead, Gruden, get one of those QBs so we can get a defensive stud. There you go, man. Again, guys, it's not about the players, man. It's about getting those players that fit the system and give this team the best chance to win. I want to talk about winning. That's what I'm going to talk about. I understand players are important, but at the same time, playing as a team and winning as a team is even more important. 4 quarters of football, that's what we want to see. Andrew Luck, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really good game. This is a guy that bounced back from his injuries, had a monster season last year, and I expect big things from him this year, just in his bounce back and recovery going into this season. Division game in London. Yeah. I don't know, man. These games, they sell out Wembley Stadium when they have these games in England. I do know that. So it should be really interesting. Yeah, Arians knows him so well, so we'll see. Yeah, you're right. What do you think we're going to end up paying Winston with that deal that Russell got? Ooh, I don't know. You know what, Byron? And this is not a cop. Well, it's sort of a cop out. Well, it's not really a cop out because I don't know what Jameis Winston's going to do. I don't know how he's going to respond to this coach. I don't know if he comes in and balls out. You got a situation here. And the cool thing about this, I think this is the last tight year the Bucs will have for a while with salary cap. I think the way everything was lined up by Jason Light, we knew that this season was going to be a tough season as far as cap room goes. But I think they pick a lot of this. They pick a lot of this up next year. I think they put themselves in a position where if they're going to sign Jameis Winston, it would be he would have to have a really solid season this year, get him in the playoffs, and I think he's looking at a big payday, the next season. So he's really got to play. I mean, he's got to go out there, focus, get it done, win games. These are games where he's going to have to put the team on his shoulders and go out there and win games sometimes. So we are there. I have high expectations for him. So we'll see what happens. And looking through here. And what do you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars game? I think that's going to be December 1st. That should be a really good game. That's one of those. They're a team that is looking to bounce back from a disappointing season. I think they moved on from Blake Bortles, and I think whoever they got at quarterback is going to be nothing but an upgrade from what we've seen. Amazement 717. You're right. I want to see a fast start, but they just can't have losing streaks. That's the thing that kills them. Those losing streaks really hurt them. And as we talked about before, September 29th through November 10th, November 17th, those are games that they've got to go out there. They've got to win these games. These are games that are necessary if they're going to get into the playoffs. Winston Mariota Part 2, big pressure in that game from both quarterbacks. I hope that Jameis Winston just goes out there and he's being himself. He's letting his wide receivers, he's letting his running backs do what they need to do. And again, I just think that this is the time where he's really going to show what he's doing, or where he is in the grand scheme of things as well. I'm worried about the 3 division games back to on the back end of the schedule. You know what? These are games the Bucs can win. You notice I haven't talked about the Atlanta Falcons because I really don't care about them. But I think these are games that the Buccaneers can win. And, especially the way Matt Ryan's been playing recently, the Falcons running game just isn't what it was before. And there are just a lot of different factors that I'm just seeing. The Falcons could surprise us all and be that division leader. But I just, just based on what I've seen, I just don't see it. Again, if the Bucs get that running game going, I really believe that takes a lot of pressure off of Jameis Winston, and it makes the offense run a lot smoother. Do you think we address the right side of the line? I hope so. I really do hope so. I hope they can get some consistency. It looks like, with the moves that are being made right now on the offensive side of the ball, they're really trying to they're really needing some depth. And that's something that is going to take a long time to get. Because guys, I don't know how long some of you have been Bucs fans, but you could go all the way back to 2006, 2005. The Bucs have not done well with the draft. The Bucs have the draft has not been their friend. Free agency has not been their friend. And it just, to me, is frustrating. Just looking at this team and seeing a team that, they should be doing better than what they were. So it's one of those things again, guys. The Bucs, they're going to have to go out there and play above and beyond this year, because that's what they're going to need in order to get to the playoffs. Yeah, I'm my own bartender, by the way. So there's that. All right. Falcons, the Saints, and the Kittens should be wins for us towards the final division games. You know what? They're going to have to go out there and play. That's the whole thing, man. The Bucs are overdue to win the division, and I think they're in a good position. I think they can do it. I think that's something that's like I said, these are games that they should win. And I think when you have and Bruce Arians, I love Bruce Arians. I love what Bruce Arians has been able to do with the teams that he's been on. And I tell you what, I think here's a guy, he gets the most out of his players. And I've seen that with the Arizona Cardinals, especially when they've had players that have gone on to other teams and not done very well. So it's just one of those things where I believe that Bruce Arians will get the most out of his players, and there are going to be some games that they should, you know what, they should. These are games that they may not win, but they should win. So, again, these are things that I'm looking forward to, and amazement. That's kind of what I've heard a lot of people trash Jason Light. I keep hearing that over and over and over again, but I go back historically, and I'm talking going back to the 90s, to the late 80s, and I look at some of the general managers the Bucs have had, and I'm trying to think. Rich McKay, who, by the way, I'm going to say this, I don't care who disagrees with me, Rich McKay should be in the Ring of Honor for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just based on what he's done. He really should. Rich McKay should be in the Ring of Honor. But to my point here, so you've had 1, 2, and he's the third since Rich McKay left. And you look at the moves that the other two general managers have made, and I'm looking at the moves that Jason Light has made, and I have to say, I don't have a problem with Jason Light. I've been called out on Twitter because I don't trash the guy. But you know what? At the end of the day, as long as he's the general manager, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to let him do what he does. And you can kind of judge by his body of work once he's gone. But I'm not having a problem. He's taken risks. He's brought in guys he shouldn't have probably. But you look at some of the moves that he's made and then some of the moves he's missed on. I'm good with that. I'm good with that because he's trying to improve this team. So again, will anybody that disagrees with me, I understand your point. He'll never live down the kicker in the second round. I get that. And you talk about drafting Vita Vea, that right there. Byron, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. Derwin James on any other team, because you look at that defense. I want you to look at the defense as a whole that the San Diego Chargers have. He comes in. His job's a lot easier when you've got a quality defense to go to. So he walked into a pretty good situation, to be very honest. I'm good with the Vita Vea move right now. Football is a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll just see what happens. I mean, if Vita Vea works out, I mean, I like what I saw from him on the back end of the season. Let's see how this all plays out. Again, if he's wrong, I give the devil his due, but at the same time, if he's wrong, I will call that out. So, and the one thing that I will say about him, he's made mistakes. He's made mistakes and he's called himself out on them, I mean, he's not going to sit here and blame anybody else. He's just fixed his mistakes and moved on. So I understand that a lot of people don't like him. There are people that don't like him. And everybody that I've asked, who do you replace him with? If Jason Light is gone, who do you replace him with? That's what, these are the kind of things I understand, when you're mad and you're frustrated, your team's not winning, your guy didn't get drafted or whatever happens. You're like, okay, I want him gone. He's not a good general manager or whatever. Who do you replace him with? And that's what I've asked a lot, because that's, I'm really curious. I'm genuinely curious to know who out there right now can come in and 100% would do a better job. Well, ultimately this is the thing right now. This is he's on very thin ice right now with the way things have gone. He's got to get to the playoffs this year. That's just what it comes down to. The pick at number 5. Personally, I would love to see the Bucs trade back and get more draft picks. There's still a lot of depth issues on this team. Again, this is one of those things that they've got to fix that. So I would like to see. I understand you've got a guy that's if you have a guy that's a once in a generation player like a Khalil Mack, and you have a chance to get him at number 5, yeah, you grab him. But if there are opportunities to get other players and you have quality players that are available on the board down in the second and third round, and you can pick up more picks, I think that you have to really take that into consideration as well. So again, I don't know. I'm not a general manager. I don't claim to be, not an NFL insider either, but I mean, as I'm looking at it, that's kind of how I would look at things. And to be honest, Byron Moore gives Jason Light a C plus. Kenneth Sarvis gives him a C plus. Again, he's got to get to the playoffs. That's what he's got to do. And otherwise, none of this really matters. He just picked a whole bunch of players that underachieved. I don't know. So again, we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens. This is the year whether we see whether he does something or he doesn't do something. I'm hoping for this team because honestly, I love the Bucs. I want to see the Bucs get back to the way it was in the early 2000s and the late 90s when they were winning, and it was fun to go to games and you had pride in your team and it didn't matter. So again, that's just those are the kind of things I want to see. You know what? Amazement, you're right. VH3. Here's another guy as a Bucs fan, and I'm just talking as a fan, as a homer. I want him to succeed. Here's a Tampa product. I want him to do good. I want him to be able to break out and just have an amazing season and just play the way that he played in college. Play in the type of scheme that he played in college, man press, where he was successful, not playing zone, not playing 50 yards off the wide receiver, but playing his game. And let's see what he does when he's playing his game, not playing to his weaknesses, but playing more to his strengths. That's what I'm actually looking for. So, that's, again, that's what I want to see. And let's see, winning in that stadium was rocking. Man, let me tell you what, when it got to the second half and it got into the third quarter and Raymond James Stadium was just ridiculous. And the crowd, I mean, you couldn't hear yourself. And where I was sitting at, you actually could not hear yourself. It was just that loud in that stadium. And I remember one time I had to work on a Sunday and I had tickets and I got off of work. And as I was driving down Del Mabry, you could actually hear the crowd from Del Mabry. I mean, over there by the Yankees, the Yankees spring training facility, you could actually hear the crowd. I mean, it sounded like you were in the stadium. It was just so loud. And those are the days that I miss. And again, I think, this team has the quality players. I think this team now has the coaching that they can do this. They just have to put it together and play as a team. I don't expect more out of offense than defense. I expect them to play collectively as a team and win some of these games, man. It's not a far reach to say that this team can't go to the playoffs this year. They have to go to the playoffs. So it's one of those things. They just have to go out and make it happen. Yep, the defense would. You know what? They sure did. And the defense they played shutout football in the fourth quarter. And that's one thing that we've really missed too, is the defense has been a liability. I mean, I could go all the way back to 2011. I would say 2011. And the defense has given up so many fourth quarter leads that it just in my mind, just thinking of plays where your quarterback goes out here, he plays bad, but he comes back, gets you in a position to win, or when he walks off the field, you're winning. And all the defense has to do is hold the offense, and they're the liability. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Matt, there we go. The 3-4 worked in the 70s. Yeah, let's bring it back. It looks like that may be part of what we're looking at this year. So let's see what they do. Again, guys, I am super excited about this season. I want to see some football. I'm really excited. Before I let you go and jump out of here, I had one question. What is anybody excited about the XFL? Basically Tampa is going to have a team in the XFL, and since the AAF is no more, I just kind of wonder about that. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that it's going to be? I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those things too that I think I touched on this. I may not have. the collective bargaining agreement is around the corner, and just to have football of any kind will be it'll be great. So hopefully, the players association and the owners can get their differences worked out. I don't see it happening because there's so much money involved, but hey, you never know. The uniforms, I've heard rumors. I don't, and see, I'm not an NFL insider. By the way, I'm going to continue to say that because I am not an NFL insider. I just talk a lot, blah blah, me. And the uniforms, uh, I don't know, man. Playoffs or bust. The uniforms, it'll be kind of good to see a change in the uniforms. I wouldn't really trip about it. Money won't be an issue. It's quality that will make or break them. The one thing that I will say about the AAF had one hell of a concept. I've gone to some games, and I love the speed of the game. I love that you could hit your quarterback. I love that they let these players play. These players knew what they were getting into going into the league, and they did a lot more, and they played harder for less money. And to me, I think that was the big drawing point for me, was watching these guys out there playing more for the love of the game, and being able to put themselves in a position to possibly get back on an NFL team. And I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And Vince McMahon, as much as I dislike that clown, he's got to look at that league and take away from that league that, hey, there's some things we need to do better, and possibly take away and do some other things. So I don't know. I just I'm really hoping that they do. Did you have the Lightning historical see? You know what? That was so, I don't want to say Tampa-esque, but that caught me by surprise. It did. But it is what it is. Amazement. It sucks for the guys who are looking for second chances. That's what I'm saying. I really hope that the XFL can work with the NFL and give these guys a second chance. I just don't like Vince McMahon personally. I don't mind his product, but I just don't like him as a person. And I could care less one way or the other. But again, it's football. You got football coming to Tampa again. We're looking at potential lockout, potential strike. Not sure what's going to happen with that collective bargaining agreement. I know they're miles away from being anywhere close. So, just kind of get yourself ready for it. Enjoy football as much as you can, guys, because we know it's all coming. We'll eventually see that. If we hired Louis Riddick as GM, we would be in great shape. You know what? I never thought about Louis Riddick. You never know. Again, Lane, think about this. If things don't work out, you could be looking at a new GM going into the 2020 season. So there's a lot on the line right now. So we'll see. You know what? Since you brought that up, I would love to do that. I'm working with Pewtercast, the Pewtercast guys, and possibly see if I could if we can kind of put something together and simulcast from different things. Will Bobo emerge as a mini Antonio Brown, as Jameis says? You know what? Here's a guy that's got another opportunity to prove himself. I think he's got talent. And again, a lot of players that we see, you're not sure if it was coaching or if it's just the lack of talent. I think this will give you a good indicator on a lot of players that you had questions about, because everybody's going to get an opportunity to get some burn this year in camp, which is what I'm really looking forward to, is how Bruce Arians has his camp set up. So again, it's one of those things. Let's see what happens. Riddick said he liked our roster too. He would know what needs to be done if he's there. Well, it's a possibility. Again, here's another guy that if he gets given the opportunity to come in and do something, there you go. Lane, thank you so much. You're one of the few people that may not like Jason Light, but they have somebody else in mind that they would consider as a GM. And I like that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people, oh, I don't like him, but I would like to see this guy in here instead. You're not complaining. You've already thought about this and you've got, okay, I've got my guy that I would like to see in here as a GM. I think that's something for you guys to consider, maybe on the next show. If Light doesn't make it, who do you look at as a GM? I think that would be kind of a very interesting conversation among fans. What do you do? I appreciate that. This is why I love this chat, man, because you guys bring ideas and things that I've never thought of. And yeah, I'm gonna shout you out if you do. There's, again, it's one of those things. But to Amazement's point, and Lane, I don't know if you agree with this or not. There was a lot of execution issues last year, and Amazement. I made that point earlier in the pod. I saw a lot of missed tackles, a lot of playing out of position. Let's hope that this coach can fix these problems. This is a make or break season, man. We're going to see what they do. And, how do the Bucs recover? What do they do? And to me, that's going to show, what this team is capable of doing is how they play, how they win some of these games, games against like the Seahawks, games against the Colts, games against like the Titans. These are games that they've got to win. Games against like the Detroit Lions or, the Texans. These are games that they're going to have to win regardless. These are games that are going to be very important. So you're going to need 4 quarters of football. These are some tough games, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Bucs to win these games. So keep that in mind as well. Well, folks, it is, believe it or not, I've been running my mouth for an hour. This has been great. We're getting closer to the draft. I will get back on. You will see me next week. I'll probably have Michael Pless on next week. I just came on today because I haven't been on for a while, and I wanted to make sure that I, got out here and told you guys thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for following me. You guys are the best. I think I've got the best chat, around here because you guys aren't coming with BS. I mean, you're actually giving logical thoughts on stuff, and that's why I say, there are Bucs fans out there that know their stuff like you guys, and I appreciate you guys. I really do. Just know that. And I'm not just saying that, but when you guys contribute, you're not just contributing out of emotion, but you're giving well thought out ideas and stuff. So, again, like Pete Cody says here, if anyone can fix our team, Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles can turn this team around. You saw what they did with the Cardinals. They had the Cardinals in the playoffs, and I really believe that they can do the same thing. I think the level of talent in Tampa is better than what they had to work with in Arizona's. And I'm not saying that because I'm a homer or I'm just because I love the Bucs that much, but I think it's genuinely the truth that they could actually make that work. So again, I can't wait, man. Football can't get here fast enough. Exactly. That's the point. And I think I was talking with Real Talk Perez earlier about this. These guys are coaches and teachers. I mean, when you're talking about the fundamentals, these guys haven't forgot about how to play football. I just think they just need to be put in a position to be successful. And another guy, I'm going to go on record saying this, and I'm going to put him out there, is Noah Spence. I think Noah Spence, with the physical talent that he has, I don't think he was actually taught what he needed to really do or what was really expected of him. And I believe that these guys can come in here and do some things. So you just never know. Let's see here. Louis Riddick could not so much in the real GM's office. Be careful what you wish for. The devil you know is better than the devil you wish for. You know what, Alonzo, you make a great point. Matt Millen, you just put chills down my spine. I would not wish that on any team except for Atlanta. But, other than that, no, I wouldn't wish that on almost any other franchise. So I just don't want that. But, guys, thank you again. Like I said, this is going to be great. Get hyped about it. We're going to have fun next week. We will be talking about the draft. We'll be talking a little bit more about the 2019 schedule. Just think about this. You're going to see Adam Humphries in a new uniform, Quan Alexander in a new uniform. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. You know what, Pete Cody? There you go. Noah Spence can be converted to a beast with Todd Bowles' teachings. I think it's all about teaching. I think it's about getting this guy in the right position. Hey, this is what you need to do. Not yelling at him and seeing what goes on. So let's see what happens. This season, the season hasn't kicked off yet. Let's enjoy this season, guys. Again, you guys have come with some really good knowledge, and I appreciate that. And next week, we're going to do this again, all over again. We're going to be talking more about the draft. I'm going to give you some guys that I like, and I'll give you some sleeper guys that I'm looking at later in the later rounds in case the Bucks kind of go back. Oliver, I don't know. I keep looking at Oliver. I like what he's capable of doing. I think his skill set transitions to the NFL very well. But again, there are other guys out there as well. So we'll be definitely looking at that. But that's it for me. I'm gonna go on and jump off of here. But guys, thank you so much. This was fun, and I appreciate you. That's pretty much it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here because you know what? This is too much fun for one day. But anyway, I'm out.